The one question the majority of operating partners fail to answer correctly at interview with private equity firms. Having interviewed hundreds of operating partners and seen them progress through processes with private equity firms, this is a common mistake made and something we see regularly when we're going through our assessment stages with operating partners. One of the main questions that operating partners get asked is, what is your value creation strategy, or how do you deploy value creation into portfolio companies? It is the very premise of the work that you're brought in to do and execute on. So both the question as to why operating partners are getting this answer wrong. I think a lot of it comes naturally to these guys as to what they do and how they execute, and their explanation of that to private equity investors who need to know to measure you against your competitor of other candidates in the process isn't answered as well as it possibly could be. When we look at assessment of candidates, we like to use internally good, better, and best answers. What I'm going to give you is the framework of the best possible way to answer this question when you're in your next private equity interview. Step number one is constraint identification. This is something that I see rarely discussed with any executive, let alone operating partners in private equity-backed settings, is they don't explain how they came to the conclusion of why they are going to actually attack a single constraint and go after it. What I would recommend is sharing with a private equity firm. Well, the first thing we did was we looked at the constraints and all the different constraints focused on the business. Then step two, we measured those constraints at the percentage of return on investment if it was tackled, and we went after the largest return on investment constraint. This gives the private equity firm full clarity that you are considering all options and not just deploying the things that you think are going to be relevant or that are based on your experience and your knowledge to deploy into that portfolio company. The next stage is to utilize your playbook and also involve the management teams. One thing operating partners can be victim of is not being a coach and jumping into being a player. The value that you bring to a portfolio company is the ability for the management team to be able to execute into the business and therefore retain that information. If that sits at the private equity level, then that erodes your exit multiple. So what's key and critical here is how you can share how you have a playbook for integration, whatever the constraint would be of the acquisitions or any other element, and how you deployed that into the management team and you worked with them to build that out and make sure that the playbook was effective so you could effectively tackle that constraint. The next thing to share is what you did and what the management team did. So understanding with the private equity firm to share, this is the part that I played in driving, developing, and improving, and this is the part that the private equity, and this is the part that the portfolio executive plays, the management teams and the portfolio company. And you want that to be weighted more for their execution than it is yours, otherwise you are an extension of the portfolio company, and that, again, is invaluable at exit process. The next step is what was the outcome? Again, focusing on extra deployed, this was amalgamated. If it's an integration, this is the cost saving basis. We folded it all into one head office. We closed 5 number, being able to share the actual return so the private equity firm can measure the results that you've achieved. And then step 6 and step 7. Step 6 is, what did you learn from this? I see so many executives not sharing the fact that they got this from that, they saw this happen, this was a different market, especially operating partner level. You're going to be working with different products, different services, different types of industries. What did you learn from that process? Well, the life sciences space, we learned that we needed to do X, Y, and Z, which is interesting because previously we learned the consumer business, we had to do this. They can see that you're evolving and you're building your playbook as you go along. And then, of course, next time what you would do differently. So if it was this type of business, I'd do this. And if it was that type of business, I would do that. You can share your complete playbook. You can give them examples of what you've done and how you've done it, using that framework to best answer the questions, to not be the operating partner that doesn't get the role because you can't explain well enough your value creation strategy. If you're looking for a new opportunity within private equity as an operating partner, either in a first-time seat or as a lineal move to another operating partner role, please reach out to us at Raw Selection and we'd be honored to play our small part in your next career step.